What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever E3 2015 game of the show. Kind of funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim's Get. Oh, my voice is gone. I'm sleeping.
You
I'm
got
tired.
nothing in the tank.
I don't know.
There.
I just messed up my name. What was that? I have no energy, Greg. It's gone. It's been drained from me. As always, I'm joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller.
Good. Well, you're all high energy. You're full of shit, though.
The camera turns on. That's what you do. I'm not like you slugs.
I tried, and now I'm dead.
What is this?
You turn it on.
Oh, okay. So am I turning it on and off and on and off?
Yeah, on
okay.
and off, on and off. Clap on, clap off.
So, guys, we
seems
just
a lot like
did
my dancing.
we just did a crazy week. Probably
Crazy
the craziest
coverage.
week of Kind of Funny, which
I'm
is
like delirious,
a crazy
yeah.
thing to say. It doesn't like every time we do something like this, we're like, all right, this must be it. There can't be another crazy thing. And then here we are at E3 2015 in GameSpot's war room, doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's spectacular.
I like how you sound like you smoked 2 packs of
Yeah, I
cigarettes
know what's
a day
going
for
on.
40 years.
Have I been sounding like this? Like
No,
No,
you
no,
sounded
no,
fine
no,
all day
no.
long, and now your voice is giving
Oh,
up.
man.
You're not seasoned. You're not a tenor.
I
tenured.
don't, man. Definitely not drinking enough water.
Just like, oh, it's too late. Don't even
There I
argue.
am. Sucking too much.
Yeah, so it's
All right.
E3's done. Mm-hmm. We're over at GameSpot.com/E3. You can go to YouTube.com/GameSpot, see all the cool things we did, or you can just go to YouTube.com/KindofFunnyGames. I've put together a playlist. I keep
Yes.
adding our videos to, so you can catch up.
And they look
everything.
great, man. I've been checking them out. Like I like the thumbnails.
I mean, like for
They're
real,
fun.
like these YouTube guys killed it for us
They're good.
today. The
Shout
awesome
out to them.
breakouts, awesome thumbnails, including Tim's butt.
All right, guys, so we're going to be talking about what our game of the show is for E3 2015. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Loot Crate. Once again, we are sponsored by them. They're awesome. As you guys know, you get the box, you order it, it comes to your house, you open it, it has all this cool stuff. There's always themes, there's all this really awesome things that you want to do. LootCrate.com/KFGames. If you enter the code KFGames, you save $3 on any new subscription. Now, you're going to want to do that. It's a good idea. Would you want to do that, Colin?
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Good. It's a good thing. So it's like
Colin loves saving money.
Oh,
the
I
way
love
that they describe themselves. They say basically, Loot Crate is like a friend who knows what you love and surprises you with an awesome present every month. And that's good.
That's true, though. You open it up, I'm like, oh, man, marble shoelaces.
That's
yeah,
brilliant
I do want
marketing.
You just get me. You know, we got all the best friends out there. So if you're a best friend, you're going to want to do this because you're a like-minded individual. So again, lootcrate.com/KFGames. Enter code KFGames. Save $3. Any new subscription. Tell your friends. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you, Luke. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, back to E3.
Back to bed.
Oh, man. There was so many good games. Colin,
Yes.
what is the Kind of Funny game of the show?
Horizon Zero Dawn by Guerrilla Games. Yay!
The name still is not natural to me. I'll tell you that right now. I often, granted, we're sleep deprived and stupid.
Oh
but
my
when
God,
we
I
were
don't
on the
even know
show
where
and
I
I
am right
wanted
now.
to talk about it, I was like, the new Guerrilla game, because like I always get hung up on Horizon, let alone Zero Dawn.
Yeah, Zero Dawn is. I had to learn that. I knew
It's gonna take time.
Horizon.
It's gonna take time.
I had to learn Zero Dawn. There's a colon in there somewhere.
See, now that's the thing. On the PlayStation blog, there isn't.
Horizon Zero Dawn?
No,
that doesn't. That
by the
can't
end of
possibly
it,
be.
By the end of it, there will be a colon, but in their headline, there was not a.
No,
there was not a colon.
that can't possibly
Well,
be.
you're telling me that Sid Schumann was wrong?
Yeah, I am. There's no way that game's called Horizon Zero Dawn without a colon in it. It doesn't even make any sense.
I'm just letting you know, bro.
He's just telling you what he knows.
All right,
Colin.
well, I appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just staring off into space right now.
You know,
Good.
no.
Yeah.
Sadly, this is the problem, Colin.
Yeah.
Is that you have to carry the lion's share of this conversation.
I know.
Because we all saw the demo, Horizon Zero Dawn. There, freaked out, looked awesome.
At
Looks-
the conference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. See, you're filling in the gaps. You know where I'm
Yeah.
driving at this. Yeah, Monday night we all watch the press conference. We all see the demo on stage there and what happens. Looks great. We're fascinated by these robot dinosaurs. We're fascinated by this world after us. What happened? How are we going to find out? Then you went behind closed doors.
Right.
What did you see?
I saw like a similar demo played in a totally different way, in a unique way, and they they actually went into the dev cam and stuff like that, and actually like moved the camera around, talked a lot about the game and like the different things. So, first of all, they're not dinosaurs. That's the first thing that people need to know. They're not dinosaurs.
But they're robots.
They are robots,
Okay.
and you don't know why they're there, and they're very important to the story. Like why they're there and what they're doing are very important to the story, obviously. But they're not dinosaurs. They look like dinosaurs. Like that one looks like a brontosaurus,
Yeah.
and etc. and so on, and like raptors and stuff. But they're not. They made that clear. They're not, and they showed animals that.
Okay. Well, so that's not to say they aren't dinosaurs then.
They
But
clearly
they're not
they,
just only dinosaurs.
Guerrilla
I mean,
Games implicitly said they're not dinosaurs.
Yeah, but robot walking things
But
aren't
if there's
dinosaurs.
other,
period.
Yeah, if there's other. Well, yeah, I guess that's true. But they're robot dinosaurs, and then I guess they're, I don't
Until
know.
they tell
whatever
us what to
they are.
call them, they're robot
Yes.
dinosaurs.
It's conjecture. I'm just telling you that someone from Guerrilla Games said clear as day they're not dinosaurs.
Here's what I'm going to propose. We call internet can work with this. Robot nonosaurs.
Dinosaur, because they're not
Notosaurs.
Yes.
So they showed. All right. So there's a setup to this though. They're calling it post-apocalyptic. Now that's like some marketing
Oh,
term.
that's
and I don't,
but that's awesome.
It is, but
That's
there
giving you-
needs to be a way more elegant way of saying.
But people wrap their head around.
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. When like I hear that, I'm like, oh, I get that, and that's cool.
This is the new society that's risen.
Exactly,
from
like
disaster.
so in the game, society had crumbled 1,000 years before the events that take place during Horizon Zero Dawn. So it's not like The Last of Us or Fallout where it's like a couple hundred years, couple dozen years, whatever
We're
it
still
is.
living in the aftermath.
Exactly, like there's very little evidence that society ever existed at all. So like they showed all this great art of some concept art, and we're basically saying like here's a little bit of a building. Like there was one tree coming out that had like a car on top of it.
Okay,
Like an old all this weird kind of stuff, like buildings that are barely recognizable. So it's basically everyone is just reverted to tribalism again.
Sure.
And they're basically like cavemen. They wear pelts, they use bow and arrows, but they're using like bows made of like these metal pieces and all these special arrows that are garnered from these robots that are roaming the world. No one knows why they're really roaming around. So they showed that, and then they showed the same sequence that they showed at the conference, but they tackled it in a different way. So they're going through the brush, and there's a sentry robot that like will alert the herd.
The one that she stabs and then goes.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. So she takes care of him just like she does in the demo. Okay. But she goes back and she goes around the other way to this river, and she uses these ropes and sets up all these explosives. So there's like all these explosive traps everywhere, and then she goes back around and shoots an arrow behind the dinosaurs, making an explosion. The dinosaurs run towards the river. The nanosaurs running towards the river, and they all run into it and explode. So they all die, and there's just all these corpses everywhere.
That's awesome.
So they played it a different way. But what was really exciting about it was not necessarily seeing the game in action again, although it was cool to see how you can do things in a different way, but the way they talked about the game. The game is entirely open. There are no loading screens, and there's no zoning. So it's not like Witcher, where like Witcher has like 4 or 5 different parts that are huge.
Yeah.
This is one massive map, and they made it clear like you can go anywhere you want. Like if you see it, you can go. So it seems like there might not even there must be some sort of barrier around the territory, but they're like they pointed like the top of the mountain. There's this, and one of the cool things, and I don't know if you guys noticed it, you could see it in the demo, was there's an old city in the background, and it's like crumbled, and there's not like really any skyscrapers all totally reclaimed, but they got more into the systems. There's like you can like scour the bodies of the creatures,
Gotcha,
and take things off of them, and they
Kevin would like this.
Yeah, he would love this. Yeah. There's metal pieces that are like really valuable. They trade with them and they make things with them. So there's presumably some sort of crafting system in the game as well. They didn't really go into it. There's an experience system. You saw the bar on the top of the screen. Now, I'm not sure if that was in the demo or not, but like our character was level 12, and you're getting experience points as you're killing these creatures. Their hit points pop out of them just like in a lot of action RPGs. And then they showed that giant kind of Tyrannosaurus Rex looking creature, and they were saying that the thing has like hundreds of animations and 12 attacks. Wow. And they showed like a lot of them, like they're basically just playing with it to show like how many times they can attack. And there's like all these different weaknesses. You can knock all the plates off in different ways to like expose different parts of the core and stuff like that.
Man.
The game is
awesome.
Guerrilla's been working on this game since Killzone 3. At that point, as Shuhei told us when we interviewed him for GameSpot Cross Kind of Funny, Guerrilla Games has always been one studio. And there was a lot of fanfare when Naughty Dog particularly split after Uncharted 2 into The Last of Us, the team that would make The Last of Us and the team that would make Uncharted 3. There was no fanfare when Guerrilla did the same exact thing. And because they never talked about it.
Moving quietly.
But when Killzone 3 was finished, one team went and did Shadowfall, and the other team started Horizon.
Yeah.
And Horizon has been in development for 4 years.
So how close are we to Horizon?
I think it looks like the game at least is rendered. I mean, I don't. It's running at 30 frames a second. There was when you're just looking around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hiccups. There's a lot of pop in. They were saying the game might crash. The game's certainly not stable. I'm assuming that this game is probably a holiday 2016 game. They need time. This is a big, huge game. But I was thrilled with what I saw. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was looking at, and specifically who made it. And I'm not saying Guerrilla can't make great games like this. They do make great games. They just make the same game.
Sure, yeah, exactly. Something brand new from them that looks this good and cool.
They make, with the exception of Shadowfall, corridor, brown, black, dark shooters.
Yeah.
And you can see what's funny is that you can see Horizon's impact on Shadowfall.
Really?
Look at the color palettes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Certainly there must have been some sort of cross-pollination between the designs of those games. because
Well,
Shadowfall
sure,
suddenly opened up. Shadowfall suddenly became colorful, and meanwhile they're making this colorful open world game. There are other teams making this colorful. You have to assume there was some symbiotic relationship between.
I'm
those
sure
games.
they went back and forth with tech, but I remember at PlayStation 4 launch them talking about the fact that we wanted a new Killzone. We wanted a place for players to start. And I think the main thing people hear when people want to talk shit on Killzone, they talk about it's brown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a kill. I'm not. That's what's so surprising about this to me too is that I don't think Guerrilla makes bad games. I don't think they even make mediocre games. They make good games, and I think Killzone was actually Shadowfall was a great game.
Yeah.
They just don't really. Shadowfall was the most Colin game that they ever made.
They don't speak to you as a studio
exactly,
often.
and so it's surprising that like it's just such a different look for them, man. Like,
Yeah. That's what's so cool. That's what I congratulated Herman on when he came on the GameSpot Cross Kind of Funny thing that first morning when we stole him from GameSpot. Was the fact of like it's awesome to see them stretch their legs. And it's what we talked to Shu about, right? That these first-party studios, you know, they could just sequel, but then you burn people out and they're not happy. You need to give them the chance to stretch their wings, do something else, you know, get out there and go, and that's what they're going with.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
and I think that I mean, don't make any mistake about it. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're also working on Killzone.
Yeah.
But Killzone sells and it's going to continue to sell. But I love that they were able to take this kind of risk and make it's the antithesis of what is normal for them.
Sure.
Corridor driven, open, military shooter, first person shooter, action third person RPG.
Yeah. Time to test themselves.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. So I think that we all kind of
That was on just about every list.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean it was one of the I was not cool on it before I saw the demo today, but when I saw the demo I was like, Jesus Christ. And I had to leave early because I had to interview Rammer from EA Sports Canada, but I was just like, I can't, this is awesome. This is really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Seeing the demo, I was like, wow, like this game looks cool, and I love that. And that's one of my favorite things about E3 is when you see the new thing, and you see that game that you're like, oh man, like this is so cool. And it happened with Watch Dogs a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember when everyone first saw that, they're like, what is this? And that's what happened this year with Horizon. And like that, I love that because not every year has that game. So I'm very, very excited to see it. What were some other games like standouts to you guys?
No, I mean, Uncharted 4. Like, you know what I mean? Uncharted 4 might have been my personal game of the show because I didn't get behind closed doors to see Horizon. What I saw of it, I loved. What I believe of it, I totally am down for. But Uncharted 4, like, I think the conversation around E3 would be different if everybody saw that behind closed doors demo. Because, like, I said it before that I thought they ended at an awkward spot. You know what I mean? The Sony press conference Uncharted demo ends awkwardly. It's not like a huge climax moment, right? But it's one of those moments that they show to say, all right, now come to the booth, come behind closed doors, come wait in this line. But 90% of the people who ever see that trailer, and if not more, will never ever get to that point. And you get there, and that's when Drake's getting pulled through the mud, and the animations are kicking in. He's covered in mud. He's climbing up this thing. He's shooting. He's jumping. There's humor in it. There's Elena in it. There's all this. There's the new camera angles. It's tight stuff where you, for the first time in forever, I'm watching like, oh my god, like cringing at Uncharted of like, is he gonna be okay? How's he gonna get out of this jam? That was awesome. That was unexpected, and that's why I was so stoked on it after Monday, after I actually got to see that demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like when Uncharted came on during the press conferences, Greg recounted on some of our streams. Like I actually refused to watch it because I don't want to know or see any more of the game. I don't need to see a single inch of that game, a single second of that game, a single screenshot. I know it's going to be great. There's no doubt about it. So why bother? Like it's not new and it's not exciting to me anymore in the sense that we know Uncharted 4 exists. It's going to be great. So the in between time is just like. I'm just waiting. When it's done, I'm gonna play the shit out of that game. I'm sure I'm gonna love it, unless they really fuck it up, and I really don't think they're going to.
It looks so good.
No, so I believe what Greg's saying. I trust Greg. It's just that as a player, I have the luxury now that we don't work at a big website where we have to cover things or whatever. Where I'm like, I'm treating this as I'm a fan now. I'm a fan of Uncharted, and I don't want to watch this. And so when during the trailer, I just looked down and started tweeting and looking at it, and then I saw really nothing of it.
So, Tim, what's for you?
I mean, for me, there was so many games that I'm like, wow, I can't wait to actually play this. And for me, I said Horizon was one of my games of the show. The other two were Mario Maker, or Super Mario Maker now, and Cuphead.
Yep.
Cuphead, I'd never known about, and apparently it's been a thing for a long time. But oh my god, that is like the most Tim Gettys game in the entire world. Like,
Wow, really?
Yeah,
More
I mean,
than a Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, no,
reboot.
but I mean, think about it. It's like it's very Disney-esque in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like I love that 1930s animation style, and it's like it's so unique, and that is what I love about these like indie games and stuff. It's this game specifically.
Get in there and handcraft, an artisanal tweet.
Yep, and I can't wait. I can't wait for that. And Mario Maker, man, like I can't believe that I'm giving that game one of the game shows, because going into it, it's like I knew I'm gonna like it. I knew it's great. I'm like, oh wow, this is a really cool platform. But what they did at the Nintendo World Championships, I think that the way they showed that game off, that sold people on the game, and it sold me in a whole new way where I was like, wow, there's gonna be a game here. People are gonna create levels that make this a real. You need to do this thing. Like we're forevermore gonna have new Mario, 2D Mario levels to play. You know, new challenges and new things, and like that is so exciting to me. And my last thing is Starfox. Like I'm not gonna give that a Game of the Show award at all, and that's upsetting because going in, like I knew that I'd be giving Nintendo something, you know, and I was sure it was gonna be Starfox, and then I played it and it's not, and that scares me and it upsets me. But I'm very optimistic about it because the game is awesome. Everything about it, the presentation and the new transformation modes and stuff, it's fluid and it works and it's great, and it's like this is the Star Fox game I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
The motion controls are not good. Like I wanted to like it, and like I played it for maybe a minute and I was like, oh, this works. Like it's not clicking with me yet, but if I had more time, it'd work. Then I went back and I got an actual more in-depth demo of it, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
Oh no.
Like it's not clicking, and like it might be. I want to give this game the benefit of the doubt because I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that there was some problems with the gamepad, the specific gamepad I had with the gyroscope and all that.
Oh, it was a gamepad.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Okay, I know, but it kept doing that, like the reticle, like just it wouldn't like be wherever I wanted to be. It kept like going off, and I'm like, I'm not even looking that way. Like, why are you doing this?
It's an E3 situation though. Right?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Is I do want to give it a benefit, but I'm not making excuses. Like that, it wasn't good.
Right.
Like it wasn't. It wasn't that fun, and it was confusing because I kept trying to play Starfox, and it's not so much just that I know how I want Star Fox to feel, and it wasn't that, because that is true too, and that's a me problem, not a them problem. What they have with the rest of the configuration was awesome, and I just need to get used to a dual stick mentality instead of a single stick mentality from Star Fox 64, and I can deal with that, but the motion control is not the answer, and I do think that they'll end up adding an option to play it with a controller, in which case this would have been one of my Game of the Shows.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I want to, I have some comments about the other two publishers because we did talk a lot about Sony's games, which I thought were really strong, and I think just probably spoke to Greg and I more as PlayStation fans.
Sure.
I think Microsoft's conference was exceptional. And I did tweet out that I thought Sony was kind of beating them up a little bit during the conference, but Sony's conference actually kind of lulled to a point where I was definitely premature on that. I think you could see both sides of who won. If you want to pick a winner, I don't think it was really relevant actually who really won, but. Yeah. Microsoft, I think, had the significant messaging and the most significant announcement overall, which I still think is backwards compatibility.
Yep.
I think that's a significant, really huge step for them. I think that unifying their digital and physical libraries across those platforms is very smart. I know it's going to be an incremental thing. They're going to start with 100 games and go from there, but this potentially opens up 1,000 new games for Xbox One ultimately, and that's a fucking huge deal. Mm-hmm. I also think Phil Spencer is on point. I think he's been turning this company around. We talked to Aaron from Microsoft who basically said as much. I think he deserves a lot of credit, and I think that they showed a lot of games. The thing about Microsoft's conference was that it showed a lot of imminence. A lot of these games are coming out this year, with the exception of Recore and a couple others, and they're starting to come out, starting like August or September with the Rare collection. But there's something Sony mustn't rest on its laurels, because the brilliance of Microsoft's approach, and why I think that Sony should be a little scared of Microsoft now, is Crackdown and Quantum Break and Scalebound were not here, and they made it clear they're not here, and they're going to talk about those games next year. So they already have their Horizon, they already have their Last Guardian, where like these games are coming out later, and they have games that are coming out later too. They also just have games that are coming out now.
Yeah.
Also, Gears 4 looked really, really, really good. And then with Nintendo,
the other big thing, my only counter to the Microsoft thing, or not even counter, but addition, is the fact that Microsoft did what Sony didn't, and it made me interested in their VR AR tech.
Oh my God.
HoloLens,
their mixed reality.
That HoloLens Minecraft demo at the end, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I actually want to play that.
Yeah.
I want to try that. I want to go out of my way to see that. Whereas Sony's 2 minutes and 20 seconds of Morpheus is on the show floor and there's 40 games to play on it too didn't work. Yeah. You know what I mean? And when I talked to people who used both of them, they were all talking about HoloLens.
I mean, that's the thing. I think to take that a step further is when everyone saw at the Microsoft conference the Minecraft demo, it was like, oh, this is I'm actually interested in this thing that I don't want to be interested in. Like, I want to hate this
I don't want to spend money on this.
You know? But then it's like, oh, shit, this is awesome. And then being on the show floor, that was the talk of the floor.
Yep.
It really was. Like, there was a Halo demo. That
Cisco gave Halo's game of the show, and I think a big part of it was the influence of the HoloLens intro.
And it's crazy, like, and I like what they did with it, that it wasn't, oh, here's Halo in like virtual reality. It's like it added to the experience,
Right.
and it sounded really cool with what they did with it. And everyone, when I was like, oh, what was your favorite thing you saw? That was their answer. They're like, you need to see that. You need to see that. So everyone that saw it, that was their thing of the show. So that's impressive.
Yeah, and then with Nintendo, I never really got to play any of their games, so I can't speak to those. What I was surprised about, and I tweeted about this today, because I'm kind of behind on news. Like, I went out with a friend of mine. He's like, "Oh, you see Heavy Rain's coming to PS4?" And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, it was announced like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
You're usually like way on top of this stuff. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I didn't even know. I got tweets randomly like on Monday that, oh man, yeah, let's talk about the Michonne miniseries from Walking Dead. And I was like, oh, AMC's giving Michonne a miniseries. And then getting ready for the Telltale interview, I was like, it's a game. Telltale's doing a Walking Dead Michonne miniseries. It's like
they're doing Walking Dead.
yeah,
Shocking.
I know, shocking. But they revealed that on Monday during the press conferences on YouTube, on Jeff Keighley's shit. It's just like there was so much news this week that it's impossible to know everything.
Yeah, and I my shock, as I was catching up, in other words, with all this news, the one thing that shocked me the most was how much people really fucking hated Nintendo's Direct.
Yeah, people were mad.
And like I wasn't surprised. I thought it was very poor, but like I was like, well, what do you really expect from them? They're clearly in the space in between right now. Like they can't do anything right now. Their hands are tied. They're probably migrating some of their games over to NX, and they don't want to talk about the hardware. And their 3DS is doing fine, but like there's a real visceral negative, really over the top reaction, I think, to Nintendo's showing at E3 this year. And I did not even know that or was aware of that until we're recording this on Thursday to this morning. So that was one thing that I learned where I was like, I'm certainly a lapsed Nintendo fan, and I was certainly unimpressed with what they're showing, but hardcore Nintendo fans were tweeting left and right and on the forums and all these kinds of things, various places on the internet, just really laying into Nintendo. And to me, like, I'm usually pretty negative about Nintendo these days, and I understand that, but to me, I'm like, I don't know what the hell you were expecting.
That's kind of my thing. Is I mean, as a huge fan, somebody that wants it to be awesome and wants Nintendo to win E3 and wants all this stuff that's like just not happening. Like, it was disappointing because there wasn't big announcements and it wasn't what people dreamed of. And like, that's kind of hard to rate something on what you're dreaming it would be. Like, what happened at Sony's conference, like Shenmue, Final Fantasy, The Last Guardian, it's like, that's not something you can ask for or actually expect.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, damn, you got good for you guys. You killed it, But with Nintendo, it's like, I feel like there's just an expectation with Nintendo where people expect to see F-Zero announced and expect to see Metroid Prime and expect to see all these things. And it's like, in a lot of ways, it's like, yeah, why aren't we getting them? But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Nintendo has its directs all year, and then when they have their one direct, it is competing against the others. So
And that's why it gets confused. Nintendo's marching to their own beat, and I think it's to Colin's point that, yeah, they're prepping for NX, right? So you can't put everything out. I thought it was weird, and I know it was already announced or whatever, but weird that Zelda didn't have a presence at all.
They said that there wasn't.
I know, and I said it was already announced, but it was just weird.
I think that was the weird thing. I read a quote from Reggie actually today where he's like, well, we're focusing on the here and now. And I'm like, that's just a made up thing because you guys showed Zelda long before it was ready. So that's just the thing you're making up now.
Well, but they're focusing on it now. Like, now they're doing
now
that.
they're
And I think
focusing on
that's
the here and
clear,
now.
though. When you look at the direct and when you see the show floor and you look around and see the games, it's like, oh, these games are all coming this year. As far as I know.
Well, they have to get these games out now. Starfox, first of all, looks like it's been in development for like 10 years. It looks like
a GameCube game.
Yeah, I mean, you told me and I didn't see it running, but the way it looked in that direct, I was like, holy God Almighty!
It definitely looks better than that did. Like, it totally does.
But does it still like a Wii? Like,
it still
looks like a Wii
very,
game, maybe.
It looks very open. Like, it looks very like there's not much.
It's airy.
Yeah, there's a lot of open space, and like I was thinking about it, I think that a lot of it has to do with keeping the the feeling of Star Fox alive and just like the nostalgia there, but also I think that it's just the gameplay. Like, I think that the design of it, not having too much going on in the background and stuff, is part of the design of giving you that space to fly through, whether it's on rails or in all range mode. But I'm sure that just like in Star Fox 64, where there's the meteor levels and there is a lot of stuff going on, there will be levels that are way more full. But Corneria, it's Corneria. That's the opening stage, and like in a lot of ways, it's like, why would it have more things going on? That's the planet. We've seen it in multiple games, and that is how it looks.
I guess. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm curious about how this all shakes out, especially with the third parties. But That's my take, at least on the first parties and their showings or whatever. So, but I think Horizon was the most impressive game of the show. At least the
definitely.
unexpected. I'm not saying Uncharted is not impressive, by the way. Uncharted is
You're a
so
monster.
impressive.
You're a monster.
I'm so confident Uncharted is gonna be impressive that I don't even need to see it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I have
so
that. And I have
impressed by Uncharted that it doesn't impress you anymore.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that, because if I saw it, I probably would have been impressed. So I don't want to make that assumption. But we also have to have the caveat that because we were on stage all the time, this was
This isn't a comprehensive game.
Yeah, this is my 9th E3, and
We
the
didn't talk about
E3,
Persona.
the E3 I spent the least time playing games by 10 times over. So you have to take that in mind. Like, a lot of my exposure to games and our exposure to games was through the conferences. Also, a lot of people are talking about Persona 5 coming out this year. I think
You want to talk about hilariousness on Twitter? Some kid asked me today on Twitter. He's like, "Yeah, I woke up to it. He's like, do you think Persona 5 is going to come out this year?" And I retweeted him, said, "Not a chance." And all these kids are like, "Greg, they just updated their website to say 2015." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Websites are never wrong. Websites never change.
Yeah, no, I know.
their name.
I
It
saw.
isn't coming out
I
this
saw
year.
that. Yeah, I'd be shocked. It wasn't even playable on the show floor at all. They had like a placard of it.
One guy's like, 3 letters, TGS. I'm like, okay. On January 1st, January 1st, 2016, you send me all your impressions of how much fun you've had with
No,
Persona 5.
I think Persona 5 will come out in Japan this
Yeah,
year.
we're talking about America.
I want to be clear. A lot of games are obviously universal. Persona team, I think, can give 2.5 flying fucks less about anything but getting that game out in Japan.
Yeah.
And then they'll worry about the localizing of it later. That's not going to be a game that comes out, we wait 18 months for Tales games. You think you're not, Persona is not going to be any different. So that home market where that game will sell millions of copies, it's what's most important. And then they'll sell a couple more million around the world. But do I think that game will come out in November, December in Japan? Yeah, probably. Maybe. I'll say possibly.
Probably, maybe.
I'm tired. I got to
Yeah,
go
no,
anyway.
so guys,
I'm
we're
sorry.
gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap it up here because we're gonna keep talking about E3. There's so much more we have to say. Like, you guys, we're not even gonna go down this path, but we didn't even talk about Fallout and why that wasn't mentioned in the game of the show discussion. But there's reasons, and we'll discuss them later. Thank you guys so much for being part of us. Part of this.
Yeah, they're
E3
part of us too. The best friends are a
2015.
big
We're
part
You
so
are
of us.
part
tired.
of us, yes, but just being part of this whole
Kinda
thing and
funny
helping
E3
make
was
it
all about
happen.
you.
The Holy Trinity, us,
You and Portillo.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for being here. E3 has been amazing. My favorite E3 by far.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a part of it. Until next time, I love you.
Bye. And thank you for supporting us.
Yes.